So we have to say that we hide some microphones among you and in your rooms. No, in your room.
That would be illegal, right?
That would be illegal. So we want to see if you can find who has the microphone. So this is a receiver from one microphone, and listen to this. Let's see.
So we hide the microphone in some place here. So what would you do to actually know that you have been bugged, right?
Can you hear something?
Probably staying silent is not a good idea. You want to listen to yourselves?
Hello, testing.
Feedback.
No? There's interference in there. There's another microphone close.
I don't really like these people. They're very dodgy. I don't like these people. I'm going to go off that on stage now.
Can you hear that?
I don't know. These two people that are on stage, I don't like them. They look very dodgy and suspicious.
I think I recognize that voice, right? I think we got our spy or target people.
I think it's a bad idea to put them on stage. Oh shit.
So
thank you very much.
You have been back, Amy. Oh, thank you very much. Can I have a mic?
Take it away from me.
Take it away. So, welcome everyone. I'm Sebastian Garcia.
I'm Veronica Valeros. We are here today to present our research and talk that is called Spy versus Spy, modern study of microphone bugs, mostly operation and detection. And in a nutshell,
we are going to talk about how to detect and find and locate and put hidden microphones. And the thing is, we didn't have any idea how this works, right? Nobody knows exactly how can you do it, right? Microphones, hidden microphones, how do they work? How you can detect them? Can you detect them? So there was like a black hole that we don't have the knowledge. And this is why we started doing this research. Super important is that if you go to this link right now, you can see the slides live on your computer, so you can click on the links and everything. It's bit.ly/HITBGSEC versus SBS, Spy versus Spy, and you can see the slides there on your computer if you want to have them closer.
Yeah, so we did this research as part of our Mates Lab Hackerspace, which is based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Okay, so let's get to it. In 2015, the Chinese artist, dissident artist Ai Weiwei, he reported that he found several hidden microphones in his studio, in his home, and he posted some pictures, as you can see on the screen, hopefully, and this was shocking for us, right? We have a circle of friends, and they commented on this, and we were like, wait, that's like a super old technology, like last century technology. And how come this is still used, right? And the thing is that he found this in 2015, and actually this microphone was placed there probably like for 4 years. Right? So for 4 years, every conversation that happened through his studio and his home was being listened to. So this was very shocking for us, and we started realizing that as Sebastian said before, we actually know nothing about this, right? And this was not the first case, not the last case. Also, a few years before.
Yeah, it happened. There you go. No, one less.
Your change.
There. It happened in 2013 that in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, you know, where Assange is still kept or living, they were having a meeting and they found a microphone bug during the meeting. And this is super important because there is only one government that was authorized to put microphones in London. You know which one?
You can imagine.
Yeah, you can imagine which one. So there was a huge scandal of who authorized to put the microphone in there, the microphones. So you know that this is happening. And the fact is that when we were talking to people and to ourselves, the knowledge we have about how to put spy microphones was the movies, right? You were having this thing in mind, oh, can I put this small microphone here and listen to everything forever with perfect quality? And actually you have no idea how it works. And this is why we start doing this research.
You know, when your knowledge, most of your knowledge comes from movies and media, you know that's not right? So we start looking for proper research already done on this topic, and we actually found like almost none. There are documents like there is a great book that is over the GCHQ, British Intelligence Agency in the UK, but they don't describe. They talk about microphones, but they don't describe like technical details. So there was a huge lack of knowledge. So there. So we wanted to. The first thing was, okay, let's take a brief tour of what has been done during the last century, because we wanted to know what is there, right? And eavesdropping is an ancient technique, right? Since the beginning of times that we are spying on each other. We want to listen. We want to know, and it's not enough to know. We want to listen to the person saying it, right? When some husband spies on a wife, he wants to hear her
or wife on the husband.
Or wife in the husband. He or she wants to hear the other person actually saying the words. That's the thing with eavesdropping, mostly audio. You want to see it directly from the source. So we took a look about during the last century things, and there are a myriad of different microphone devices. The last century was very prolific in this area, so we highlighted some of these. One of the most interesting cases was this device that is called the Thing, right?
The Thing.
They didn't know how to call it because it was so new by the time, so they call it the Thing.
The Thing. So, this is telling you how they knew about it, right?
Yeah,
nothing.
So as you can see, it was quite big, right? It was actually an American seal, which was a gift from Russian people to the ambassador in Moscow. So U.S. ambassador in Moscow, and he took the gift and he put it on the wall, and they didn't know that this was actually a covered microphone, and it was hidden for 7 years, and it was actually discovered by accident. Somebody was listening to some frequencies and said, like, wait, this information, who is talking? And they found that actually was people from the embassy. So how does this work? So
the Thing, right? This is a wooden panel. The problem is that when they open it and trying to see what's going on, there was a membrane and there was some type of antenna, maybe 1 or 2 capacitors, and that's it. No power supply, no electronic. This was in which year?
It was after the Second World War.
So pretty old, right? So do you have any idea how this microphone worked? How can this work without any power supply? That's why it was there for 7 years. Nobody needs any maintenance, right? Better than most of my servers, actually. No? Any idea how this microphone worked? No electricity, no batteries. It was pretty innovative for the time. Imagine like 60 years ago, right? So this technology, now you have it in your phone, and now we call it RFID, also the similar technology as NFC. So they send electromagnetic signals from outside the embassy to this wooden thing, and this signal was inducting electricity on the microphone, and the membrane was vibrating with the sound of the voice of the people, and then the antenna sent back the signal remodulated to the people listening. So actually they call it illuminating, like putting a super big magnet, electromagnetic magnet to the embassy, and well, at that moment they didn't know about the consequences of this, and just sent a lot of electromagnetism in there. Very nice idea. Now you charge your phone or you do NFC, right? It's like 1 or 2 centimeters. They used to do this at least from 40 meters, maybe more, 50 meters. So imagine the amount of energy you need to transmit to make this work.
Yeah, and this was very clever because if you do a physical swap, trying to find for this type of devices, if they were not active listening in the moment, you would not find it because it's just nothing. It doesn't have any transmission by itself. It was very clever. But it was not the only one. So another device that was very interesting was the KGB bag, which was around I think 1960s or something like that. And it was very interesting because it was one of the first Russian microphone bags using transistors. The transistors were invented a few years before, and you know the impact that it had in our field, right? And it also impacted here because they could start doing things really small. And this was actually really small compared to other things in that time. And you can see that it has 3 connectors, 2 in the bottom, which they use for power, 1 in the top for the antenna. And there are like 2 small screws that you can tune the different frequencies. So it was very modern for the time.
Imagine look at the number, and you can imagine how many of them they built, right? And how many they were using. So
yeah, so 500,000. So yeah. The next one that we found really interesting is this one, TI-574A. Which is actually was made in back in the time when there was a Czechoslovakia Republic.
Go Czechs! Czechs.
So this microphone was also very interesting because it was modular, and it was one of the first documented cases of this type of devices. Each module contained a different function, so one of them was a transmitter, and according to other modules that you can assemble together, imagine like a Lego
so you're talking about
box.
Lego, right?
Yeah. So they started doing this, and so they could make the microphone bag have other functionalities. Among them, there were 2 very interesting. One was that the transmitter could beacon home, right? So find my mic kind of thing. And the other was that it can be somehow remote control, according to the literature. So how this was used? We found a nice description where you can see that they make a fake wooden support for a table. They just place a mic, and basically in the top of the fake support they put tape, and they just put it under the table. And you could be surprised how actually successful this type of hiding locations is. So it was very, very clever. And in this line, another innovation by the time this was in the 1970s, it was an opaque bag, which if you pay attention to the image, you don't see any power connector, right? So we are seeing with the different examples that they had a problem with the power supply. It was not easy, and that is still nowadays one of the problems of the bags, that you need to power them. And in this case, this was very, very smart, because this was designed to be placed near electrical wire connections in some place. So it was powering itself by electromagnetic induction. So you just put it near the cables, and then the electromagnetic induction from the cables will power this device. So it could be there indefinitely.
You can see the issue with the power, right? Like they were trying to solve these issues over and over again.
So this was kind of very nice. Yeah.
The most interesting thing is that technology advances a lot, and in the last 20 years after these old microphones, we have a lot of technologies in there, right? This is an image from a magazine, and you can see that you can use laser that it's targeting your window, so registering the vibration in the window. With a laser you can hear voices. Also you can do it with microwave. You can do it by putting these type of bug. Also in the window is vibrating. You can do the all type of wiretapping. This is still legal in many countries, like the company that provides you the phone service or the cell phone service can do it. You can put it inside the walls. You can put it in many ways, right? The technology is here and we have many, many ways of doing this.
Yeah. So imagine these pictures from a magazine from many years ago, like really old. Imagine now with all these IoT smart devices that have cameras, microphones embedded on them. So our modern houses look much, much worse than this. So this was cool. It was very nice, but that was the past, right? Nowadays, it's much. We also moved. We also evolved.
And you can imagine that you have cell phones and you have this IoT, Veronica was saying, malware of course is spying, you have recording from drones, you have recording from your cell phone, recording from Alexa, Google, all these devices. So you are surrounded by microphones all the time. There is even one laser project that they are targeting the vapor or mist in the air, and they register the vibrations in the air, and when you are speaking close to vapor, they can hear you from far away. So, a lot of things, okay? However, what we were talking about is, okay, we need to know how this is working, right? So, we need actually to go and experiment. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
So one more thing about this slide before we go through
okay.
is that we mentioned that the invention of the transistor was incorporated in this technology because they were doing smaller microphones. When the new evolution or improvement in the audio communications appears, then is also incorporated in this spying field or eavesdropping field. But when the technology evolves, we also evolved, right? Before, like 40 years ago, we were talking a lot, talking to each other, talking over the phone, because it was the only medium of communication. But right now, most of us, we are, well, at least part of the population is chatting, right? Is using the computer. We are not talking out loud. All the conversations sometimes happen through the computer. That's why malware, spyware, that do this kind of eavesdropping is so popular right now, because if I put a microphone on imagine like me, I would be chatting most of the time silent, right? So that doesn't make much sense.
So we wanted to experiment. We focus mainly on microphones that use FM and GSM technology, stationary ones, so the microphones that you can go and put in any place to listen. And this is the focus of our research.
Yeah, because we didn't want to do like a theoretical field, like research. We wanted to try them out, right? That's the fun. So we started searching for microphones, for spine microphones. Of course, eBay and alike. We selected with a limited budget. We bought like several of them, but okay. So the first one was the F908 that you can see here. It's a very small microphone. It has a plastic cage, as you can see, which has the microphone and the power supply, like connectors. And what most people in movies don't tell you is that these type of things have a very, very long antenna, right? So much for hiding it under the lamp. So
you need to transmit, right? So you need antenna.
You need an antenna, and you say, okay, I will coil it, right? And I will hide it, and it will be very small. Well, no, that doesn't work, because that's the thing of the antenna. It has to be extended. Otherwise, you're creating noise, and it's not going to work. So this was one of the models. Can we go back to the
Yes, I will go back.
Sometime.
Wait for it.
Soon.
I lost it.
Yeah, I can see
completely. I don't know what it is.
There is a crown. It's maximized.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah. Sorry, there you go.
So this works in some 113 megahertz. It has an advertised range of 500 meters, and it costs around $33. So it's pretty cool. But we wanted to search for smaller microphones. We were trying to find things like close to the movies, right? And this was the closest we could get. This model is called Microspy. You can see that they got rid of the plastic cage, so it's even more smaller. And you can see microphones there. There is a little hole there, which is also for tuning the frequency. And it also has the power for the battery. And it also has a really long antenna. So another thing that they don't tell you, that probably Sebastian can show, is that these things need a battery, removable battery, right? So when you put the battery on, it's not actually that small. It's so as you can see here in the picture. So this one was also working on 100 megahertz frequency, 500 meters is standard range advertised, and it's cost something like $15. Another model in this range of devices is the ear one that we bought, and this one has a plastic cage, and the connector for the power is kind of separated, so in the end it's kind of bigger, but it's also more flexible. You can kind of split the hiding place like a bit. It also has like a huge antenna, typical for this type of microphones, and it also, most of them have this little screw where you can tune the frequency. It's not standard, some microphones don't have it, but most of them have. And you can see that this is actually the longest antenna ever, right? Hide that. So we have these 3 microphones, and we wanted to say, okay, we have these professional microphones, but what about something that you can abuse in your own home? We have any appliances that people could have in their homes, and we can abuse and listen to. And in this range, we found a very nice example. This is a Valeros BY04, which is a baby monitor. And it comes in pairs. One is transmitter, one is receiver. And this is used for monitoring babies. So you can leave them somewhere and not listen to them while they are asleep. This is very curious because it transmits in a frequency of 800. So 800 megahertz or something. And the range in there is wrong because the range advertises 800 meters, which is a lot, right? I'm not sure why somebody would leave a baby and leave for 8 blocks away, right? But maybe. And the price is a bit higher. It's $65, and it has like 3 small batteries. And in this, in trying to get some variety, we also found that we could buy GSM Box Microphone box. So this is one of the models. You can see that it's really small. I will get out of the middle. There is no external antenna because it's GSM. You can have a small antenna embedded on the case. That's how our cell phones work, right? And it has a SIM card that you can place. It has a Lion battery which lasts 2 hours full if you're calling, or 22 hours on standby. And it has also a SOS function, so you can carry it with yourself, and sometimes you can program it or you can configure it, so you press the SOS button and it will call somebody, and they are used also as GSM trackers.
Sorry, and you can program a phone number that the bag is going to call you when it sends some sound. So just leave it there. When there is some sound around, it's automatically calling you, right?
Yeah, and it's available for $10. And the good thing about this type of devices is that you don't need to be 500 meters away to listen. It's GSM, right? You can call from all over the world, and it will work. So
a small thing about this microphone. What do you think is the main disadvantage of this microphone? Because it's super cool, right? Like you can call from any place over the world, small, battery, rechargeable battery, no antenna. What is the main problem of using this device? Huh? Size. Well, yeah, it's not so small, but it's small enough. For us, the main problem is the fingerprint in data that you leave. So if anybody finds this bag, you can analyze the phone number that it's in there, and you know this phone number. And if you know the company, you can track who called this number. So you know the number of the attacker, and also you can track where this SIM card was located around the world. So potentially you know where this phone was, for example, tested, or where was the location of the caller. So there is a lot of information that you are leaving there, and usually when you are putting a microphone, you don't want to be tracked back. This is why they prefer these small analog devices that you can lose in a house and nobody cares. Yeah. There is a lot of information in here, right?
Yeah. And if you're smart, you don't want that. And if you're sloppy, it's most likely to happen to you. So in this table, we have a comparison of the different characteristics. And mostly, the most interesting thing is the range, that most of the devices are 500 meters, which is advertised. In reality, it might be less. 300 meters is more reasonable. And the baby monitor, 800 meters is just crazy. I don't know. And the thing is that people that have baby monitors in their place with this technology, there is no need to bug them. They already bug themselves, right? So it's kind of, you can just listen to it, like any radio, basically.
So sorry, anyone here is using baby monitors at home? No? Yes? No, right?
I don't think they will say yes.
Of course no.
So once we have the devices, we wanted to kind of experiment with them. So we started doing listening experiments. The listening experiments were basically trying to see, okay, this is advertised 500 meters. Does it really work like that or not? So in here you can see how one of the experiments look like. In one point we have the receiver, and then in the other point we have the microphone bag. And there is 300 meters from one distance to another, and you could perfectly listen to the conversation. So this means that if you're back, you have this cleaning or reparations ban in front of your home. Well, that's fine, but it's not needed, right? They can be 2-3 blocks away with good equipment, and that would be perfectly okay.
Another thing that we learn in the movies, right? Yes, they are looking for the ban in front of the house, right? No, that's not true.
Yeah. Or maybe there is, but they don't need to. Yeah. So in here, we have a documented experiment. We did several of these ones. So in this case, we set the mic bag location fixed. So you can see that it's all the same. The receiver location was getting closer. So at first started with 300 meters, and it was getting closer, walking around. And you can see how the quality of the audio was. So in most of the cases, we could have 4 or 5/5 quality, which was very good. We could hear clearly. In other times, we have 3/5, which was I can understand some things, but I'm missing some others. And this basically had to do with the type of infrastructure, like buildings, that was in the middle. If there is perfect line sight between the mic and the receiver in the front of even if it's 300 meters away, it would be fine. If there are buildings in front, the quality will deteriorate. So, and you can see that the last one is the microphones and the receiver were located in the same place, and the quality was perfect.
And also, if you see the distance from the microphone and the people that was speaking, we didn't know, but actually you can be to 10 or 15 meters away, and if the microphone is in there, it will still register most of the conversations and sounds. So they're super sensitive. Oh, no. Yeah.
So after these experiments, we found that actually it's very hard to do it professionally. And the listening was very hard. It was not easy, mostly because you have interferences, you have a bit of noise, and you are human, right? You cannot listen perfectly everything, and sometimes there is some loud noise that it will impede your proper hearing. You know it's saying something, you know it's something like potato, but you might actually miss it, and the person was saying something else, maybe. And another thing was that, for example, you have to have some equipment for your own, like as a listener, for isolation, because otherwise it's very hard to kind of listen properly. And another thing that we found is it has to do with geolocation. And geolocation is important because attackers, we found that attackers need to be close to put a microphone, right? And this is good and bad for you and bad for them. So good for you because it's not that everyone in the world can attack you. They need to be close, so there will be some that reduces the amount of attackers that will target.
Also because you need the resources, right? Imagine that you need somebody listen to this or recording and then listening to this for a long time, maybe weeks, and you know the equipment and the hearing. So you need some resources around. So you can imagine who is able to do this more easily. Right?
Yeah. So that was kind of good for you, but for you as well because they are close to you, right? And that's a bit scary because if they have to plant a device, they have to break in your home, and that physical closeness is kind of freaky. Also
home and also hotels. We know of people that was traveling for holidays, and they were just following and putting the mics in the hotel room, right? So this happened in the past. It's not story.
And it's also bad for them because this closeness is limiting for them, and they can also expose them, right? And another bad thing about this geolocation issue is that when it comes to malware, for example, anyone in the world can help you. You can send your malware to some team in, I don't know, imagine Citizen Lab, Canada, and they will take apart your malware and they will help you, right? When it comes to finding microphone bugs, well, they have to be close to you to be able to help. You cannot remotely locate microphones in your home. So that is kind of limiting, yeah.
And the main advice here is that, remember, this is a serious issue. So if you really need this service, if you really think that somebody is bugging you and you have some life-threatening situations, contact some company, some professionals that they know how to do it. They have a lot of hardware, a lot of experience, a lot of time, and this can take several hours. Especially when you are not finding a microphone, this can take 4-6 hours or more. So be conscious here that yes, you can do it. You will see that you can do it by yourself. But if you really need it, there are professionals in this area. So we know now how the microphones work. We know that this is a threat. We know there is an issue. We know that we have no idea how to detect them. And this is why we created the Salamandra tool. So Salamandra, it's a software-defined radio, free software tool that can locate and detect hidden microphones in closed environments. So this tool was created for you. It was created for the people to be able to search microphones at home or in the office very fast, very easy, very cheap, and to expand it. This is why we don't have information about people being bugged so much, because we don't have the tools, easy and cheap tools to detect them. So we hope that this tool will help our community, especially the security InfoSec community. So, yes, you can go there, GitHub, El Draco, Salamandra, you can download the software. For using the software, we are using software-defined radio. So, software-defined radio, software-defined radio is like this device. It's a group of software tools that they communicate with hardware that it's able to transmit and receive radio frequencies. So you can configure in real time the frequencies, how you're doing it, and receive and send very easy. This is a digital TV tuner. that it's $10 on eBay or these places. And the hacker community long ago discovered that you can hack this device and listen to any frequency from 50 megahertz to 1.7 gigahertz. So we are abusing this tool also to listen to microphones at your premises. You can buy this, and you need some hardware like this to use Salamandra. So Salamandra used this, and now how does Salamandra work? The basic technique, this is not our technique, it's a very known technique, it's that there is a difference between the normal radio transmissions and the microphones. So this is a normal FM radio station, this is a spectrometer, you can see here the frequencies and the energy levels, and you can see that this is a FM radio, this is another FM radio, they are separate, clear distance, there is no noise in the middle, you can hear good quality, they are far away, good power. This is how normal FM radio works. When you turn on the microphone, you see this. And this is much, much noisier. You can see that the signal is repeating all over the place again and again. You can see that there is a noise. The energy level was up. And this is because you are close to the source of transmission. And this is the key. You can see in the bottom this blurry thing. It's people speaking. And these lines in here, it's people counting from 1 to 10. So this is how counting from 1 to 10 looks like when you are doing it in a spy microphone. Based on this idea, Salamandra, what it's doing is setting a threshold level, a base level, and say, more than this energy level, this is measuring dBms, more than this level, we will consider you close enough, high enough power to be detected. And then we count how many of these frequencies are over the threshold. Because when you are closer to the microphone, the same sound is being repeated, bounced to other frequencies, right? There is like this interference with other frequencies. So using this technique, Salamandra is able to detect microphones. There are two main modes in Salamandra, the detection mode and the location mode. In the detection mode, we want you to be able to put the USB device, use Salamandra, and Salamandra tells, hey, there is a microphone in here or not. Straightforward. No configuration, no nothing. So how we are doing this? We trained and we conducted more than 85 experiments with different microphones and listening devices, with also different setups in train houses, premises, different places, and we did experiments with Salamandra and with one hardware detection tool. So this is, let me show you, this is a hardware device that you can buy also online. It's a detector, and there are two buttons in there. There is a button here, and this can tell you, it's called Ghost, you can see in there. Okay, you cannot. But it's something that you can buy to see if there are microphones around. The main problem, you can see if there are microphones, you don't know where it is. The second problem is that if you start buying things like this or more expensive hardware, the people that is attacking you will know. So this is a risk also. If you have this type of hardware and the people is watching you, you are telling them that now you are suspicious that you are under surveillance. And maybe this is not the best OPSEC action. So we did these experiments and we compare Salamandra with Ghost, and you can see here the first threshold is the power level, this column here. The second threshold is the amount of peaks over this power level, and we conducted experiments and we compute errors. What is an error? So you can see here the fourth last column. FP means false positives. This is when I say there is a microphone, but actually there was no microphone. This is a false positive. A true positive, TP, is when I say there is a microphone and actually there was a microphone. A false negative, if when I say no, there is no microphone in here, but actually it was false. There was a microphone. And the true negative is when I say, no, no microphone in here, and there was no microphone, okay? So we count the errors in all the experiments, and then we see that these tools are not perfect. Even Ghost is having an 8% of false positive rate, which means 8% of the time it's telling you that there is a microphone and actually there is not. Imagining this in a life-threatening situation. You don't want to have this type of errors in your tools. In this setup, Salamandra with a 15.3 and 2 thresholds is having a false positive rate of 0, so we never said, yes, there is a microphone and there was not. But of course, we have the true positive rate. That means how many times we said that there was, and there was actually only 33% of the time. So we miss a lot of microphones in there. However, you can modify Salamandra thresholds, and for example, in the last one, with 10.8 and 1 thresholds, you can have the same performance as the ghost hardware detector. So this is the idea of Salamandra. You can go there, you can configure, you can tune it, and the sensibility will tell you what you want or what you have. So, how does Salamandra work? Let's try Salamandra. Let's see if we can show it to you. No, this one, but this one. There we go. So here we have Salamandra, and we are telling here the threshold of 0, and we are going to start with a frequency of 110 and 215, and we are going to put it in the search mode with S. So here, this is the basic setup of Salamandra. It's going to show you here if there is some detection or not, the location signal, and it's going to tell you that the status is active, the threshold is 0, there is no sound. I can put some sound in there. You can interact with the keys, right? M to toggle the sound, S to increase the sensibility, more or less. And then if we put some microphone in here, some spying one,
okay.
It's crash.
It's a demo, so it fails, you know.
Yeah,
it's like the rule. If it doesn't fail a couple of times, it's not a demo.
Oh, sorry. Let me bigger. Demo! There you go. Let's try again. Oh, there you go. So now it's telling us, can you see it? Yes. It's telling us that in this frequency, this is the frequency, there is some signal that it's being detected. And this histogram that you see, it's the amount of peaks over the threshold frequency that we set. So you can see that Veronica is moving. Did you see that? And we have larger bars. And now Veronica is moving away, and this is going down. This means that you are farther away. This is actually the detector, right, the antenna. And you can see that it's farther away or closer. And this is the basic setup of Salamandra, that you can actually have some idea of what's going on, including moving the threshold. I'm going to move the threshold up. So look at this number in here. I'm pressing S. Now I'm pressing capital S. Right? Again. This is more and more sensible. And now I'm going up. I will go back to 0. 0 is like the default sensitivity. And I'm going to go up, which means I want these bars to be smaller, right? So this bar should be smaller and smaller because I'm telling the tool to be more sensible and more sensible, right? So 6, 7, and at some point now, you can see less and less histogram detection. So this is telling the tool, okay, you need more evidence to tell me that there is a microphone. You need more frequencies, you need more peaks, you need to be closer, more noise to actually know that you are detecting something. So the idea of having here the frequency is so you have some better idea of what you are detecting. If you start using Salamandra and you have a detection in some FM radio, well, probably it's an FM radio, and it's not a microphone. Especially because if you are listening to the audio and you have an FM radio, even for the listeners, this is super hard. So they are avoiding the collision. And you can see maybe other frequencies in here, 400 megahertz, 600 megahertz, 1 giga. You can find anything in there. And then you actually can see and verify what's being transmitted there. Because remember that Salamandra, it's using SDR, so you can use any other tool to actually listen to the sound and verify if this is a microphone or not. So, going back to here, this is another color setup. We have the tool we have the microphones, we have the knowledge now. What we need is
real-life experiments.
Real-life experiments.
Otherwise, it's boring.
Yahoo!
Yeah. So we wanted to experiment with this in a more exciting way. So we did like a gamification of spine, and we did some role playing. So one of us was the hider, and one of us was the target, the seeker. So the methodology went something like this. So the seeker first, the seeker goes out, basically not to see where the microphone is hidden. So the hider hides the mic, or not, which was a fun part, because you can, maybe it's a proper thing to kind of try if they are forcing the detection or not, right? And after that, the seeker gets in, and he starts speaking some passwords or keywords, which is basically a way for us to know the precision of the listener, right? How good can you actually hear the important things?
Put some reality in there, right? Like, can you really understand the information? Can you really use this or not?
Yeah. So after that, the hider, of course, tries to catch these words, and we measure the time to detection. The first time we say for sure, yes, there was a microphone hidden here. And then we measure the time to location, which is, can we actually say where in this room was actually the microphone located? And then we measure the recall, which is the amount of passwords heard over the total passwords or keywords spoken. And here we can see some summary of the last 5 experiments we did. We did several of these. You can see that there were, in all cases, there was a hidden mic, and in all cases there was a mic found. The time to detection was very interesting, because you can see that it was seconds, right, or a little, some small minutes. Number 4 is a special case, so the time to detection was bigger. The time to find, however, you can see that it was much larger, right? It took a lot of minutes to actually find the device in the place. And we can also see that the password spoken over the password listened correctly was only 100% in the first case, 10 passwords spoken and 10 listened, and in all the other cases, the listener could not actually get very well the keywords. That's a problem of the quality of the audio.
Yeah, and we have to say that, so there was a methodology also for searching for the microphones. So you are moving around, like walking like this with the computer, and in any place in the premises we were saying a password, so we were stopping very clearly, normal voice, saying a password, then we are moving and saying a password again. So the idea is, yes, you hide the microphone in one place, but we are walking all over the house of the premises saying password. So how many can you find? Because remember what Veronica said, you don't know where your target is, and you don't know where the important conversation will take place. And then, or you need several microphones, or you need to guess, right?
Yeah. So,
and the first experiment, right? So in the first experiment, what happened, that it was a detection of 25 minutes, no finding, so actually we were not able to find the microphone, maybe it's still there, hiding. And from the 10 passwords, none of them was catched. This means that, yes, the seeker couldn't find the microphone, but the hider was not listening to anything. Actually, what happened is that the microphone get kind of disconnected, so it was like not working, and it was one listening and the other one like trying to find. And this is a real situation. Even the ghost detector was not detecting it, right? So after some minutes, 25, there was a super weak signal coming out of the microphone, and walking very close, there was some detection in Salamandra. So Salamandra got it, but it was very, very weak.
Yeah, and all the listening experiments were done with this ICOM radio receiver, which can cover a wide range of frequencies. You can tune it to every microphone, which you know which one because you are planting them. And the thing is that sometimes there were like super loud noises, so actually hearing was very painful. Mostly when the seeker was screaming all over. So this is one of the second longest experiment, which it took almost 40 minutes to find the microphone. In this case, it was hidden, as you can see, under the table with tape. It's not very pro, but actually it worked. It caused a huge delay, right? And it's kind of the point, and we saw it before with the thing device, right? When it's right in front of your eyes, you will probably miss it, right?
But I'm pretty sure everyone here is checking under the table when they got home every day, right?
Sure. So the other example that was harder to detect was using this whiteboard.
It was super good because the seeker was able to detect this microphone in seconds, so got into the premises 3 seconds, there was a detection, super good, start looking, the location, we were getting close, and at some point it was like, okay, I know it's here, like half meter around me, but I don't know where it is. I was start to getting a little bit mad. It's like, okay, I don't know where else can be, right? It's like really like moving everything on the furniture and under.
Yeah, before you break the walls, try to like find all the places that are not under the wall, like a viable, right?
So in this whiteboard, actually, it was there, right? There was this small place on top of the whiteboard for putting the paper. Of course, we didn't remember it was there.
Which fits perfectly. It's
super
just
small.
the size for the microphones. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and good hearing, and also important communications and conversations are happening in front of the whiteboard. So good detection things.
Yeah. So what we learned from this, it was super fun, and we found that actually hiding is hard. It's not that easy that you just go there and just plant a microphone, right? You have to know the target. You need to know where the important conversations happen. So it involves a careful study of the behavioral patterns of the person. Where do they talk, right? Surveillance. And then it also, if you are doing this professionally, you need to break into a place, which is also hard. And it's also the power. How do you power these things? Because these devices, the battery will last maybe 2 days top, and or 3 days in the best
there were
cases.
experiments like maybe like 6-8 hours, and one of them more.
What after that? You need to break into a place again and change the battery. You probably don't want to do that.
Remember the devices we saw in the history, right? The power is so important that actually in Ai Weiwei case, they put it in the socket because they need constant electricity. This is an issue if you don't want to break into the house every, say, 6 hours. Right?
Yeah.
Also, the location is super hard. So detection is fast. Yes, go there and detect. Locating it, this is what is taking 6 or 4 hours to professionals because you don't know what it is. And actually, if they have time, it can be inside the wall. It can be in places that you have to break. So it's not easy to get to these places, even if you know it's around. And this is why Salamandra is for us so important because as far as we know, this is the first tool that can give you an idea of the location. So imagine that if I told you, yes, there is a bag in your room, you can be hours searching. But if I told you that there is a bag around here, now in these 20 minutes, 50 minutes, you can very fast see if this is true or not.
You can start disassembling the desk, right?
And remember in the listening, right? Listening is super hard. You need to be clear, the noise is there, you don't listen completely well, you don't understand the password, the language.
And the problem with the sound quality, like the F908, this device is very powerful, and when it was placed in the whiteboard, it has like this little cavity which was isolating the mic from like common noise, but still it was like 8 meters away, and I could 8 meters away there was a person cooking, chopping onions, and I could barely hold my headphones because it was so loud that it was impossible to hear. It was just chopping onions, right? Yeah. So you have all these variables of environmental kind of noise that you have to kind of deal with.
So we also conducted some experiments on listening audio, and the idea here is that, okay, we want to have some idea of how you can work with real audio in real scenarios. So we record actually, not this one, we record actually some microphones, people speaking, and you can hear, I will try to put it. was a radio.
Go.
So the thing with this microphone was it was very interesting to kind of. Okay, right? So you see that it's super difficult.
You get the idea how difficult it can actually be because you have all this static noise.
And then there was one of.
You should speak close to me.
Sorry. So we contact one professional that is an animator in audio, and he was working in the audio a little bit with his tools, Fermin Valeros, and thanks to him, he was cleaning the audio a little bit, and here after the improvements with the tools. No radio, right?
Can you hear that? There is no noise.
Yes. Go.
The thing with this microphone was very interesting. Okay, so you can see that there is no music anymore. So
all this myth of actually, let's put a radio and let's spoke like with the radio in the back so nobody can hear us. That might have worked like 40 years ago, but right now with the current technology, you can isolate the frequencies of the noises and you can clean the audio.
Yeah, so don't do it, right?
Yeah. So in summary, audio eavesdropping is a real threat. So don't be fooled. This happens. It still happens today. Now you know how it works, and now you know how to protect yourself. Yeah. Right.
And this is important because usually the people is no audio. This is old thing. Nobody's doing it. No, they are doing it. Right. So be careful. Be there. Remember. And now you have Salamandra. So go there. Find mix, advance the field, research more experiments, help others, right? If you know people that they can use this, like journalists or activists, go there, go to the home, sweep around, and then you will have another tool for your protection.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much for staying, and if you have any question.
Without using a mic, any questions from the floor?
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. It was very interesting. And have you ever, in the beginning of the talk, you said that you only focused on the FM radio frequency. Mm-hmm. But have you ever looked at GSM frequency or other cellular network frequency?
So yes, this one is GSM, right? And this microphone is like a cell phone. So we were able to detect it when it's connecting to the tower and when somebody is calling for listening. So you can detect that, but the rest of the time, this is digital, right? So it's hopping frequencies around. So you cannot distinguish this one for any cell phone at your house. So if this is passive, it's just there. We don't know any technique for separating this from your cell phone. Actually, it's a cell phone, so there's nothing there. But if you know that there are no cell phones around, then you can detect this in the frequency of cell phones. Yeah. Yes. But they are much, much harder, right?
Yeah, and they are commonly used right now. They embed these type of devices in like USB drives or any other like inside other devices. So they are very popular right now. But we haven't found any research on detection on these like previous work.
So do you have any plan in your future, like improve Salamander to detect this kind of frequency?
So actually, yes, we have some ideas in there. There are two ideas, and one is to split or to separate the false positives detections from the real microphones. And if you are using this type of microphones, the idea is actually to generate sounds with some pattern, and then you can match the sound that Salamandra is generating with the patterns in the frequency, and you can see that you are actually close, right? So this is type of searching for this information, yeah. And there is, of course, like more microphones and more digital things. Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Veronica, Sebastian. That was a very interesting talk.